Brendan, so much to talk about.
Yes.
We'll start with the transfers then. Transfers in, Engels, Trusty, we've heard lots about them. There's only about 8 hours to go until the deadline. What's the latest you can tell us?
Well, we're in a really good place in terms of that, and we hope by the close of the market this evening we'll have a number signed, sealed, and making our squad stronger. So I think that's always the goal that we entered into this window. I've said that we want to make the team and squad stronger, and hopefully we can close the market, and that is the case.
If you do bring in Engels and Trusty, would you say that your squad is stronger from where it was at the end of last season?
Well, I don't want to put any names until it's signed, but certainly that's the aim. I think we don't want to just regenerate the squad. We want to improve the squad, and and I believe that come the end that will be the case. So, as I've said before, there's been a lot of hard work going on behind the scenes, and of course things sometimes don't happen until later on, either through availability or a club not wanting to sell a player. But there's been a lot of movement in the last 4 or 5 days, and thankfully, and for me, as I said, the club have been great in terms of trying to push these deals through.
Obviously, you say you don't want to give us name specifics until it's over the line, but these calibres of player that you're looking at, is that the level of quality that you've been looking for all summer? Is that why it's taken so long just to get these top level players in?
Yeah, but I think quality always takes a little bit of time. But yeah, I think we wanted to improve. I think that was the key. As I said, I don't want to take away the guys that have been here, have been brilliant for me in this opening season. But we want to continue to progress, and that's absolutely key for us. So, and I think the players that we've identified, I think the players that we brought in till this point were what will really supplement the squad and have been great for us. And we can add a number before the end of the evening, then we'll be in a really good place.
Just finally for me then, if it is just a defender and a midfielder, would you be happy with that? Because I remember before Matt left the club, you said you wanted maybe one in before. Would you just be happy with?
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to give you a number. I know you're trying desperately to get out of me here. 8 hours left, so I'm not going to give you a number. As I said, I repeat, I think by the end of this evening, I think we'll be in a really good place.
Brendan, if you get the players in, but on top of Alex, would any of them potentially be involved for the weekend?
Yeah, could be. I think a number of the players that we've been looking at have been playing, they're up to speed. So yeah, but we do an MOT on a player when he comes in just to see where they're at anyway. But most of the players that we're looking at will be in a good place.
What are you expecting from Rangers this weekend? Different squad from last season?
Yeah, I think always expect the challenge. I think that people can sometimes assume that when you're doing well and everything's going great, that you'll just turn up and win. And that's a very dangerous way to think, and that's why at Celtic we never ever do that. We're in a really good place as a team. From a football perspective, the level that we're playing at, with and without the ball, is really pleasing. But we come into these games, and these are different games. These are emotional games. But what we've always and how we've always tried to handle these is to focus on our performance. And so the players we prepared really well all this week, and I think Rangers will come in, and like I said, it'll be a tough game.
What did you make of the Champions League draw, and what will it do for the team's chances if you get the quality in that you expect to?
I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I think we were all anticipating what's it going to look like because we all loved the draw and everything else before. But I thought it was really well done. And of course, then the teams that we've got, absolutely fantastic. You know, we're playing against a Champions League finalist. We're playing a Europa League winner amongst the other teams. So it's so exciting as from a manager's perspective, from the players, we get the chance to play against the best in Europe, and then we also got some really exciting cities for the supporters to go to. But of course, we're here for the football, and we also want to make a mark in that. So yeah, I thought it was a great draw, Different teams, different thoughts around it all, but really exciting for us.
You have a fighting chance, do you think, with those groups? With those teams?
But that's the plan. We're not there, as I said before, we don't want to just participate in the competition. We want to be competitive in it, and that's our chance. But we have to remember it's the elite level of club football, and some people will look at some teams and think that's easy, and that's not the way football works. But for me, it's a brilliant draw. I'm really excited by it, and when it comes, as are all the players and staff.
I just ask a team news question. Cameron Carter-Vickers wasn't spotted at training. Is there an issue with Cameron?
No, just give him a wee recovery. You know, sometimes we do that in our sessions where if the players are overloaded and we measure and monitor that, we can just we can take one or two out, give them a sort of recovery day, having worked hard all week. So he's fine.
Just go back to the transfers. By all accounts, Celtic might be about to break their transfer record and incoming fee. Is that you encouraged by the level of ambition that the club has shown this week? You got your
You just turned up. You just turned up. Listen, we'll see. We'll see by the end of the. I said to you, we'll see when the market closes.
Brendan, Matt O'Reilly left, taking with him a lot of goals and assists. You've sort of brought in Bernardo, and you might bring in someone else, but you're not going to tell us. But obviously, midfielders are more than goals and assists, and I was just wondering if you could speak on, as a manager, what challenges you face when you bring a new player in an already pretty well functioning team. I'm sort of thinking about the relationships that already exist on the pitch, the natural rhythms and sort of connective tissue about the pitch that can sometimes get disrupted a wee bit.
Aye, it's a brilliant question, because you need to. That's why your recruitment is so important. Bringing in players that fit the rhythm of the team, the connectivity within the team, and suit the style, because it's not just about players; it's about the right players. So that is so important, and that's why it does take some time, because I've said it before, there's lots of good players, but other players that fit into the system, that fit into the way we work, into the structure, and ones that we feel that can elevate the team. So as you say, and if you see the early part of the season, the team's functioning so well, but we can never take that for granted. We always have to provide competition for the players that are here. We obviously have to have the depth to our squad, because we go deep in a lot of competitions. High intensity games, those levels in the Champions League, they take so much out of you from a physical capacity. So, but I think it's also what helps when you have 5 subs now in the modern game, where you can make those changes. If you can bring players in and out of similar quality, it keeps the rhythm, keeps the intensity in the game. So bringing in players that fit that's obviously key within the recruitment zone.
You mentioned the competition for places. That was my second question. You brought in a left back in this window. Now Greg Taylor's been Celtic's first choice left back for a while, and he's done really well, particularly over the last 3 seasons. He's now got competition in that position. How important for you is competition for places, and does it push the rest of the squad on if they know there's a bit of competition behind them?
Yeah, I think at a top club it's vital. And it's also has to be expected. When you're at a club of this status and this size, you need to know that there's competition, and I think most players do that. Greg Taylor's been brilliant for Celtic, I have to say. For a guy that came in, a couple of £1 million from Kilmarnock, what he gives the team, what he's given the team over the period of time before I arrived, and then seeing him over the time I've been here, he's been absolutely brilliant. I've got to say, how he plays the role and how we want him to play it, he's absolutely first class. So I love Greg as a player. I love him as a person. He's a really, really good guy, very conscientious, very robust, trains every day, plays most games. But ultimately, also you need competition, and you need maybe sometimes to be able to take a player out, So to give them that rest or breather. But competition is very important, especially at the biggest clubs.
Just one final one from me. There's been a lot of talk about incomings, but is there any players that could potentially be leaving before the end of the day, or do you expect it pretty much as is?
Yeah, I think it's a revolving door, really. I think there'll hopefully be ones coming in. I think for some of the players, Obviously, they need to go and play. Like so Gustav has already gone out now, and there'll be a few others that need to go and play. It's just been the case, but I've said it before, but we need to obviously get the squad to a real manageable level. But also, it's young guys' careers. You know, they want to play football, and I think at a club like Celtic, if you're not playing as regularly as what you would want, you may only want to do that for a certain period of time. You want to then go and get your career going again or get playing again. So there might be a little bit of movement over the course of the rest of the day on that front as well.
Brendan, the development in the team has been clear so far this season. What aspect in particular is the one thing that pleased you the most about how we've come on from last season?
Our pressing. I always say that passing the ball and pressing are like twins. When you press the game well, you pass the game well. And it was probably the first 6 months of last season where we weren't doing either so well with enough consistency. That started to pick up in the second part of the season, and then really that last 3 months of the season then tagged on to our pre-season. Now if you guys probably look at and analyse the games and do everything, we've had 3 shots against us in 3 games. So that tells you how hard the team's pressing and working together. And that elevates then the football. So I always say our mantra here is respect the 30%, because that's the most important bit. The bit when you don't have the ball, how aggressive you are. And that was why it was nice last week whenever Stephen talked after the game about, he changed his team and probably want to go physical and set pieces and everything. But we done all the dirty side of the game. And the top players do that. They do the dirty side. Some people call it the easy. It's not the stuff that gets noticed a lot in the stands. But it's absolutely key from a coaching perspective and a player's perspective. So that pressing side, the aggression, the compactness of the team, that all then brings the football to another level. That's been the most pleasing part.
Do you think we'll be better equipped for the Champions League this season, not just in terms of the squad, but in terms of that tactical evolution and the improvement in the team?
Yeah, I think so. I think we tried some things in pre-season against Man City and Chelsea that worked well for us, knowing that we're against a calibre of opponent that will ask different questions of us, and so we looked at a couple of things in that game tactically, just slight little tweaks and adjustments that can work well for us. So but that's what I love about this team. I think the constant evolution of the game, they're learning, they're improving. I think they're more accustomed to me now and what I demand and what I want. So there's a real focus and clarity around everything that we're doing, and I think then you see that on the pitch. So I'm really excited about the Champions League and what that can bring, and it's really positive.
But in terms of the Champions League draw, does that open up a good opportunity for Celtic, because obviously you've got some real good calibre teams in there, but in terms of the home games in particular, I guess people might look at that and say, relatively speaking, the draw could have been worse. Do you see that now as a real good opportunity to progress? Yeah,
but I think we've been here before. I think this is the key thing, is not to underestimate and not to assume that because we're playing Club Bruges that there may be not good players in there, or Red Bull Leipzig, so this level of competition, there's nothing easy in it. Okay, you might not be playing the team that's won it 14 times, but it doesn't mean the other teams aren't very good, But what it does give us, it gives us that confidence. I think now in our game and our model and how we're working and how we're developing, then it gives us a real nice opportunity to go make a mark at that level, and that was always what we want to be able to do. So the home games will be as tough in different ways to the away games. Obviously, some of the glamour ties and some of the big ties maybe be seen to be away. But also the home games will be tough games for us. But we'll be ready. We'll have the support. The stadium will be absolutely on fire, and I cannot wait.
Brendan, can you describe what this week is like for a Celtic manager when you're preparing for an Old Firm game, you're trying to bring signings in, Champions League draw? Are you a delegator? Are you right at the front of things? How do you manage your week so that you're not, burnt out, or not burnt out, but...
I know, I understand. I know. Listen, there's no getting away from it. It's a tiring week. I'm very, very fortunate here. I've got amazing staff. I've always said it, that it's not about the manager sits here and does the press and everything else and manages everything, but I've got absolutely brilliant coaches that manage the coaching aspect of it really, really well. I've got a recruitment team that work tirelessly every single day, and then I manage it all, and that's something that it's time, it's long days, but it always is. And then, like you say, we've got Celtic Rangers at the end of it all, but it's a great life. I can't complain.
How much does it help you, Brendan, and the players that the recent record has been so good in the derby, in terms of just being able to go into it with kind of clear head and less maybe nervousness than there would sometimes be?
No, I don't. I think I said it before. Whatever number of games I've been involved in, I always treat it, and I ask the player, it's like your first game. The experience a lot of the guys have had in it is great, but you just can't assume that you just turn up and play these games, and because whatever your record's been in the past, that will continue. You have to have a real focus and a real clarity on what it is you want to do, and but I think we have a nice rhythm in that. For us, we prepare for a big game every game we play. So our preparation is the same, and it's been the same this week. Very focused, very detailed, giving clarity to the players, not being overly tense in the preparation, but just bringing that calmness to it all, and then we look to deliver at the weekend.
And does the first derby of the season carry more significance than others? That sometimes, we say that it lays down a marker kind of thing. Do you think that way, or?
I think every game is. Whether it's the first one, last one, every game, when it's a Celtic Rangers game, means everything. So yeah, I think for me it's just important for us to look to continue with our momentum. Our mentality going into these games has been very, very good. But for us, it's really, we want to perform, and that's thinking of that process and how we can perform to the ability that we have been, and that's been our only focus. Then we look to see what the result brings.
You touched on it earlier on about not making any assumptions about the opposition. In the periods in the past against in derby matches, like the last year, the first spell, maybe times when Rangers looked a bit vulnerable or other times looked stronger. You've dealt with both of them kind of similarly. Is that something you take into this point in time now as well? Because we're again in a situation where you're maybe big favourites again for this type of game.
Well, again, I think it's one where it's that their story is never created by us. That'll be created by you guys about what you're maybe seeing or what you think is happening. As professional football players and coaches and the manager, we prepare for the game, and especially these games in particular. That there's a different psyche in them. But for us, we're coming into it in a really good place. But we can never, as I said, just assume that you don't have to do the work. You have to do all the dirty side of the game. You have to be together. You got to be unified, and then see them bring your football and see how difficult you can make it for the opponent.
I'm guessing it helps the fact your record's so good in the fixture, but do you still get a buzz from these games and everything?
Every single one. As I said, I feel it always like my first game because I know what it means to everyone. I think that's, I understand the feeling, I understand the journeys. The heart of a Celtic supporter's story is Celtic Rangers. That's the heart of it. So I understand what it means, and but like I say, we'll go into it. We'll be ready for a tough game. It's the first of these games in the season, of which there'll be many, and we're really excited by it.
The other day, Martinelli was saying he felt after these games, even if you win, it's a mixture of relief and joy. What's your kind of initial emotion been after a victory?
There's always a satisfaction whenever you win, and however that comes, whether you're a favourite to win it or whether it's against the odds. I think the winning any derby game is always special. So no, my feeling is always as of happiness and joy, like you say. Then it's about reflective analysis of the game to see areas where we could have improved and where we could have been better, and then look to take that forward. So, but no, these are, you're going to have millions of people watching this game, wishing and loving to be a part of it. My feeling is I'm very, very lucky to be right in it, and that's my approach every single time we go, and then we're in it to win and play well. So that's always a good feeling if you can do that at the end.